Hello, I wanted to have a candid conversation with everyone today about burnout and recovering and healing to get back to living. About 6 months ago, I made the choice to leave my job. I had a job for 6 years where I started out as a secretary, and it quickly grew into a commission-based job. There was a lot of competition, obviously. I didn't feel comfortable in that position, but I really wasn't given another option because they wanted to make as much money as they could as a growing company, and they felt my time and resources would be better spent making money instead of being a secretary to help other people. So I got quickly burnt out from that type of work. And I started looking around. I found a job right away in car sales. Now, I had never been in a car sales position before. I had never worked at a dealership. I didn't know what it was like, but I knew I was ready for a change, and I was up to giving it my all. So I went to work for this company, and after the first 60 days, I realized this may not be the right career choice for me, but I was going to give it another 30 days until my 90 days was up, because they usually give you like a 90-day grace period in car dealerships. So I gave it my all. I wasn't supposed to clock in until 9, but I always clocked in at about 8:45 every day. Between noon and 7 when I left at night, I sent out about 500 emails. And I did this every single day while I was there. Then the third month came that I was there, and the manager made up a little chart of the parking lot, and my duties were increased to be on the parking lot in the freezing cold. So I don't mind hard work. I grew up on a farm. You know, anybody that grew up on a farm knows that's part of who you are. That's your character, and you're made up with that. But I wasn't hired for that. So when I found out I would be having these extra duties put on me and nobody else would, I thought, well, no, I'm not going to stand for that. You know, I work hard enough as it is. So about 15 days into the last month, so 2 weeks into the last month, I had made the choice that if nothing improved within the last 2 weeks, I was going to leave. So eventually the 90-day period came. And that particular day, I woke up and I said, okay, you know what? This is it. This is the 90th day I'm going to give them of my time in my life. And I went in there, and they were so underhanded, and the tactics they use against employees. And I just opened my eyes and thought, this is so ridiculous. Why am I even here? And I just turned in my key and walked out. I literally walked up to the manager, said, I'm done, turned in my locker key, and literally got in my car and left. Never looked back. I don't regret it. But I've been suffering from burnout for the past 6 months. Now, I can't say this is anybody's fault but mine. I brought it on myself by taking on more than my share of work. I worked 60 to 80 hours a week, and that's not healthy. So all these things contributed to my burnout. It's my fault. I take full responsibility for that. But I'm recovering. And I thought it would be interesting to share with you how I'm recovering from all of this. The first month after I quit, I had COVID. And it lasted, it seemed like 4 weeks this time. And I eventually got over COVID, and I started feeling a little better, but I was still feeling very drained emotionally, physically, and mentally from all the years of working and stressing myself to the max. My daughter approached me and asked me to go shopping. I went shopping with her, had a horrible experience with another customer, and then realized, well, you know what? I haven't had time to go to a store in the past 6 years. I've been working 60 to 80 hours a week. I order everything online. So no wonder it bothered me when this customer was so rude. And I came home and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? That's because I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out of everything. They always say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I was out of lemons, and it took a while to realize this fact. I was out of lemons. So when I went to that store and had that awful experience, it wasn't me having that awful experience. It was the burnout having that awful experience. So I decided I wasn't going to go out in public again for a while until I was able to rest and recover and get my head screwed on back straight, so to speak. Eventually, I started taking on small tasks outside of my comfort zone just to get myself back into doing things, because burnout has a way of creeping up on you and causing you to deflect from your regular schedule and habits. So I found myself laying on the couch more. I found myself binge eating popcorn. I found myself watching scary movies every single day. Even my daughter got burnout and she loves scary movies. I started doing things that are normally outside of my comfort zone and habits. So I realized that that wasn't good either. I started consuming content from YouTube about people who have been there, done that, and what they do. I started watching shows that were entertaining, even just to get my mind off of the burnout and to think of other things, to think of good things. I tried to stay away from negativity and just conquer it with pleasant thoughts, good stuff, and keep my mind busy on what I need to do to heal and get through this period of burnout. So eventually, what I learned was that when you have burnout, it's like a system failure. It's like your nervous system shuts down. Your nervous system isn't going to work like it used to. You have to get used to everything working in a different way. You have to get used to the way you react, the way you respond. You have to get used to how things make you feel. It's a very different thing from your routine everyday life. When I worked for 6 years in a stressful environment, I didn't have to give anything a second thought. It came natural to me in my job environment. Like, if this happened, then you do this. If this happened, then you do this. There's like an instruction manual. When you're burnt out, there isn't one. You're not given an instruction manual. It doesn't tell you how to fix your engine. It doesn't tell you how to fix your brain. I didn't see a therapist because I'm actually a life coach. See a therapist if you need one. So a couple years ago, when I started feeling like I was about to get burnt out, I could feel it coming on. And I knew I was overextending myself by hours, by energy. You know, this company was taking all from me and giving me very little in return. Surely wasn't paying me what I was worth. And I knew right then and there I was burning out. And I thought, I'm going to have something to fall back on. I also, because of the stress, I lost vision in my eye, which I also YouTubed about recently. And because of that, I went back to school to become a life coach, because I thought, well, if I lose my vision, I'm not going to be able to work anywhere. But being a life coach, you can work on the computer, you can have clients, you know, over the internet. So I thought, well, I'm going to have something to fall back on in the event that I can no longer do my job due to vision loss. And that's how I became a life coach. Just recently, after months and months and months of trying to heal and figuring things out and wondering what do I do next? Where do I go next from here? I realized that I don't want to just live life anymore. And this is a lesson to all. I don't want to just live life. I don't want to be mundane and do the same things I do every single day. I don't want to get up, make my coffee, feed the animals, and then go to a 9-to-5 job, and then come home, and then make the dinner, and then go to the gym, and then sit down and veg out in front of a TV. I don't want that life anymore. You know what I want to do? I want to create a legacy, meaning I want to live when my kids are older, or even as they're still growing up now, they'll see me living my own legacy. In other words, when my great-grandmother lived down the street here when she was alive, I was a little girl, 3 or 4 years old. And she was amazing. She made the cookies. She did good things for her neighbors. She planted a garden. She grew her own veggies. She made homemade dinners. She was amazing, and she was kind, and she was a wonderful human being in my life. And I have very fond memories of her from being a small child and knowing her and sitting at her table and eating those sugar cookies that she made, and so forth. But yet she didn't live to live. I don't think even she realized that during that life of hers, especially at the end when she was elderly and she was doing all these nice things for everybody else, she didn't realize that she was making her own legacy. Because that is what I have ingrained in my memory. All of those nice memories are her legacy. And I take them with me and I share them with people like you. And I share them with my own children. That was her legacy, and she didn't even realize she was living it. She wasn't living to live her legacy. She was just living her life. But at the end of the day, I want to know I'm living my legacy. I want to make an impact on this world. I want to help people. I want to help my children with my knowledge of things I've learned so that people don't have to make the same mistakes I have. And in this video, you know, don't make the same mistake I did. If you're working 60 to 80 hours a week because you have to and you have no choice, find just 15 minutes of something to do other than the mundane. Find a place you can walk. Do you have a park nearby? Do you have a sidewalk nearby? Anything you can do. Do you have a library? Just walk to the library and back. Anything you can do to clear your mind, steady your focus, clear your soul, you know, of the mundane, everyday things that we do because we have no choice. So start doing something for you that will make a legacy for the people that you love. And I want to leave you with this last note. I don't want to pass away someday and no one ever knew I was alive. Okay, that's deep. So I want you to think about that for a minute. You're living your life now, but who knows? Who knows you're living your life? Your coworkers, your neighbors, your spouse, your children. Yeah, granted, they know, right? I'm sure there's something that you have to offer out there that you're not giving of yourself because you don't even know it's worthy of offering. There are so many things that every single one of us has that's special and unique. You might say, well, I make lasagna, but you know, everybody makes lasagna. But how do you make your lasagna? Maybe you don't make it like everybody else. Maybe you have that one quirky thing about you, or maybe you make something else that nobody else knows how to make, or maybe you have a different example of making a mile-high lemon meringue pie. What do you have that nobody else has? Because you have something, and that's where burnout comes in. When you're burnt out, you lose that. You lose that of yourself. When you're burnt out, you lose your mind, you lose your nervous system, everything goes. And it's very difficult to get it back without extensive therapy or some form of, you know, medical healing or something like that. So my message to you is find what keeps you going in this world when everything feels so mundane and it's hard to get out of bed on Monday morning because you know you're going to have a wicked busy day. Find what makes you go and use that towards your legacy, and know that eventually somebody will be blessed from it. And going forward, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm looking forward to making my own legacy so that when my kids are older and I pass away, they have that I lived for. So I wasn't sitting here talking about how I worked 60 to 80 hours a week and never got to walk the dog. Worked 60 to 80 hours a week, and that's why I don't go out in public and deal with people, because I had to deal with them at my job and it burnt me out. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. As a new video maker, please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more of my content. I will be making more types of content like this. In addition, I make recipes and I talk about life experiences. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.